The house that was mine. The first time my brother announced he owned my house, I thought he was joking. It was Thanksgiving. The turkey sat golden and untouched on my dining room table, the table I'd bought at an estate sale 3 years ago. Refinished myself in the garage, the one with the small burn mark near the corner where I'd set down a hot pan without thinking. My house. My table. My turkey. 23 people crammed into my living room, perched on chairs I'd collected over 5 years of careful budgeting, standing in clusters near the fireplace I'd had repointed last spring. Aunt Carol dominated the couch, Uncle Dennis held court by the kitchen island, and my mother floated between rooms with that particular smile she wore when all her children were under one roof. I was 34 years old. I'd bought this house when I was 29, after 7 years of saving every spare dollar from my job as a data analyst. 7 years of bringing lunch from home. 7 years of driving a car held together by hope and duct tape. 7 years of saying no to vacations, to new clothes, to nights out with friends. The down payment had felt like climbing Everest in flip-flops. Impossible, painful, but somehow I'd done it. The house was a small Cape Cod in a neighborhood that was just beginning to turn around. 3 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, a postage stamp yard with a maple tree that turned brilliant red every October. It needed work. God, did it need work. But it was mine. The deed said so. Right there in black and white, Sarah Elizabeth Morrison, sole owner. Marcus said, "Everyone, I have an announcement." My brother was 37, 3 years older than me, with our father's broad shoulders and our mother's talent for commanding a room. He'd moved to California 6 years ago for a tech job that he described in vague terms involving disruption and paradigm shifts. Twice a year, he flew home, stayed with Mom, and held court about the Bay Area housing market, the superiority of West Coast wine, and his various professional triumphs. The conversations in my living room died down. Faces turned toward Marcus, expectant and curious. "As many of you know," he began, his voice carrying that smooth confidence of someone who'd never been told no, "this house has been in our family for 5 years now." I felt my stomach drop. Something in his tone was wrong. Not joking, not casual. "And I'm pleased to announce that I'll be relocating back home permanently next spring. I've been working remotely these past few months, testing the waters, and I've decided it's time to come back to my roots." He paused, smiling broadly. "So I'll be moving into my house full-time." The silence that followed was the kind you could drown in. "Your house?" I said. My voice came out smaller than I intended. Marcus looked at me with something like pity, something like amusement. "Sarah, we've talked about this. The family house. I've never talked about this. This is my house. I bought it. My name is on the deed." "Well, yes, technically," Marcus said, drawing out the word like it was meaningless. "But we all know Dad intended for the family assets to be shared. And Mom agreed that when I moved back, this would make the most sense. You're single, you can rent an apartment. I have a family to think about now." This was news to me. Marcus had gotten engaged last year to someone named Bethany, whom I'd met exactly once via FaceTime. The wedding was planned for sometime next summer. No date set, no invitation sent. "Marcus, I don't know what you're talking about," I said, trying to keep my voice level even though my hands were shaking. "This is my house. I saved for 7 years to buy it. I pay the mortgage every month. I pay the property taxes. Sarah, honey, don't make a scene," my mother said, appearing at Marcus's elbow. She wore her purple silk blouse, the one she saved for holidays, and her expression was gently reproachful. "We can discuss this later. You're upsetting everyone." "I'm upsetting everyone?" I repeated. "Marcus just announced he's taking my house. Our family's house. And honestly, Sarah, you're being a bit dramatic. This is what families do. They support each other. They share resources. You of all people should understand that given how much Mom and I helped you when you were buying this place." My breath caught. I didn't help you. I bought this myself. Who do you think advised you on the mortgage rate? Marcus said. Who do you think helped Mom co-sign the loan? Mom didn't co-sign my loan. Well, she was prepared to, Marcus said smoothly. And I spent hours on the phone with you, walking you through the process. That's worth something, Sarah. You can't put a price on family support. I felt like I was losing my grip on reality. Yes, Marcus had spent maybe 2 phone calls explaining mortgage terms to me, calls where he'd spent most of the time complaining about San Francisco real estate prices. And yes, I'd asked Mom if she'd be willing to co-sign if needed, but my credit had been good enough that I hadn't required a co-signer. These were not contributions. These were conversations. I don't understand what's happening, I said. You're overthinking this, my mother said, patting my arm. Marcus just needs a place to stay when he moves back. You two can work out the details later. Now, should we say grace? The rest of Thanksgiving passed in a blur. I moved through the motions, carving turkey, passing dishes, refilling drinks, while rage and confusion fought for dominance in my chest. People ate, they complimented the food, they talked about football and politics and someone's new grandchild. And all I could think was, my brother just declared ownership of my house in front of my entire family, and no one said a word. After dinner, as people were gathering coats and herding children, Marcus pulled me aside in the kitchen. Look, I know this came as a surprise, he said, but you have to admit it makes sense. I'm starting a family. You're still single. This house has 3 bedrooms. What do you need with 3 bedrooms? I need a house I own, because I own it. Sarah, don't be selfish about this. Family is supposed to look out for each other. And honestly, do you really think you could have bought this place without family support? Who do you think Dad would have wanted to have this house? The invocation of our father, dead now for 8 years, made my hands curl into fists. Dad has nothing to do with this. I bought this house with my own money, 3 years after he died. With knowledge and support from the family. And let's be honest, you're not exactly killing it in your career. When was your last promotion? What are you making now? 60,000? 65? I make triple that. I can actually maintain this place properly. I can do the updates it needs. You're just treading water here, Sarah. Before I could respond, Bethany appeared, all white teeth and blonde highlights. Baby, we should get going. I'm exhausted from the flight. Marcus kissed her temple. Of course. Sarah, we'll talk more about the transition plan after the holidays. I'm thinking maybe you could move out by March. That gives you 4 months. Very generous, really. They left. Everyone left. And I stood in my house. My house, my house, my house. Surrounded by dirty dishes and half-empty wine glasses, trying to understand how my life had just been hijacked. The next morning, I called my lawyer. I didn't have a lawyer. I'd never needed a lawyer. But I had a friend from college, Rachel, who'd gone to law school and now worked in family law. I called her cell at 8 a.m. and probably sounded unhinged. Slow down, Rachel said. He just announced he owns your house? In front of everyone, and my mom backed him up. Rachel, I'm the only person on the deed. I've been paying the mortgage for 5 years. This is insane, right? Tell me this is insane. It's insane, Rachel confirmed. But let me ask you something. Did you ever sign anything giving him any interest in the property? Any documents about shared ownership? Any informal agreements about inheritance or family property? No, nothing, never. Did your mother contribute to the down payment or closing costs? No, I saved everything myself. Did anyone co-sign the mortgage? No, just me. Then, Sarah, I need you to breathe because legally, he doesn't have a leg to stand on. The house is yours. Period. End of story. The relief was so intense, I started crying. But he's acting like it's already decided. And my mom is acting like I'm being unreasonable for objecting. That's a family problem, not a legal one, Rachel said gently. But you need to protect yourself. Here's what you're going to do. First, make sure all your property documents are secured somewhere he can't access them. Second, do not sign anything he gives you. Third, document everything. Save texts, emails, any written communication about this. And fourth, consider sending him a formal letter from an attorney making clear that the property is yours and he has no claim to it. Will he actually try to take legal action? Rachel was quiet for a moment. People do crazy things when it comes to family and money, especially if he's convinced himself that he has a right to this thing. I've seen siblings sue each other over far less. We talked for another 20 minutes. She gave me the name of a real estate attorney. She promised to draft a cease and desist letter, and she reminded me over and over that the law was on my side. But as I hung up, I realized the law being on my side didn't change the fact that my family had just betrayed me. Marcus started calling the house his in texts me. I'll need the garage code from my house. Can you get the furnace in my house serviced before I move in? Bethany wants to repaint the master bedroom in my house. What's a good color? Each message felt like a wasp sting. Small, sharp, cumulative. I stopped responding. Then he started including Mom on the texts. Sarah, Marcus needs the HOA information for his house. Can you send it to him? Sarah, you're being very difficult about this. Marcus is trying to plan his move, and you're not cooperating. Sarah, answer your brother. This is family property, and you need to work together. I called my mother. She answered on the third ring, her voice bright and cheerful. Hi, honey. How are you? Mom, what is going on? Why are you acting like Marcus has any claim to my house? Her voice shifted, became patient and slightly condescending. Sarah, you need to stop being so territorial about this. Marcus is coming home. He needs a place to live. You have space. It's the loving thing to share. I'm not stopping him from finding a place to live. He can rent an apartment. He can buy his own house. But this house is mine. Well, technically, it's a family asset. It's not. I bought it. I own it. My name is on the deed. You wouldn't have been able to buy it without family support, my mother said. And I heard Marcus's words coming out of her mouth. Wondered how many conversations they'd had without me. Your father would have wanted you to help your brother. Dad is dead, Mom, and this has nothing to do with him. Don't speak about your father that way. Her voice went cold. I raised you better than this. Marcus is your brother, your only sibling, and you're going to ruin your relationship with him over a house? He's ruining the relationship by trying to steal my house. Steal is a very ugly word, Sarah. Nobody's stealing anything. We're just asking you to be reasonable and remember what family means. I hung up. My hands were shaking so badly, I had to set the phone down. The letter from Marcus's attorney arrived the week before Christmas. It was addressed to me at my house. My house. Always my house in my mind now. A mantra I repeated to ward off the creeping doubt that maybe I was crazy. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was the selfish one. The letter was 3 pages long and full of legal language I had to read 4 times to understand. But the gist was this. Marcus was claiming a beneficial interest in the property based on substantial contributions to acquisition and maintenance, informal family agreements regarding shared assets, and reasonable expectations created by family representations. It was bullshit. Formal, expensive-looking bullshit on heavyweight paper with an embossed law firm name, but bullshit nonetheless. I called Rachel immediately. She was at a holiday party. I could hear music and laughter in the background. He can't do this, can he? There were no contributions, no agreements. He's lying. He can file whatever he wants, Rachel said. Doesn't mean he'll win. But Sarah, this is serious. He's actually retained an attorney. This isn't just family drama anymore. You need to respond formally. Let me look at the letter and get back to you. I spent Christmas alone. Mom had invited me to her place where Marcus and Bethany were staying, but the invitation felt like a trap. I stayed in my house. My house. Mine, mine, mine. And ate takeout Chinese food and watched bad movies. and tried not to think about all the Christmases before this one, when I'd felt like part of a family instead of an obstacle to be removed. Rachel called on December 27th. Okay, I've reviewed everything. His claim is baseless. Actually, worse than baseless. It's borderline frivolous. But here's the thing. Defending against it is going to cost you money. Filing fees, attorney time, possibly court appearances. He's betting you'll settle just to make it go away. I don't have much money. I'm paying a mortgage. I can't afford a legal battle. I know, which is why I'm going to help you pro bono for the initial stages. We'll draft a response, make it very clear he has no claim, and hopefully his attorney will advise him to drop it. Most of these things don't go to court. They're just intimidation tactics. But Marcus didn't drop it. January brought depositions. Marcus's attorney wanted documentation of every dollar I'd spent on the house, every mortgage payment, every repair, every utility bill. They wanted my bank statements, my tax returns, my employment records. They wanted to know about every conversation I'd had with Marcus or Mom about the house. I took time off work to meet with Rachel and her colleague, a real estate attorney named David, who looked at Marcus's claims and actually laughed. "This is the most ridiculous property dispute I've seen in 15 years of practice," he said. "There's no documentation, no paper trail, no evidence of any contribution or agreement. Just a brother who decided he wants his sister's house." "So it'll get thrown out?" I asked. "Eventually. But in the meantime, they're going to make your life hell. They'll bury you in paperwork, drag this out, make it expensive and exhausting. They're hoping you'll give up." I wanted to give up. God, I wanted to give up. I was exhausted. I'd stopped sleeping well. I'd lost 12 pounds. My boss had pulled me aside to ask if everything was okay because my performance was slipping. I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't stop checking my email for new legal threats. I couldn't stop wondering if somehow, impossibly, Marcus would win. My mother stopped speaking to me entirely. She sent a text in February, "You're destroying this family. I hope you're happy." I wasn't happy. I was drowning. The court date was set for April 15th, tax day, the universe's little joke. Rachel and David were confident. They'd filed a motion for summary judgment asking the judge to throw out Marcus's claim without even going to trial. The evidence was overwhelming in my favor. I was the sole person on the deed, the sole person on the mortgage, the sole person who'd ever made a payment. Marcus had provided exactly zero documentation to support his claim because no such documentation existed. "This is a slam dunk," David said. "The judge is going to take one look at this and dismiss it, probably with prejudice, which means Marcus can't refile." But I couldn't shake the anxiety. Lawyers were expensive. Marcus's lawyer was expensive. Someone was paying those bills, and Marcus had money. What if the lawyer found some obscure law, some technicality, some way to twist reality into something unrecognizable? The night before the hearing, I couldn't sleep. I walked through my house at 3 a.m., touching walls, looking at the stupid burn mark on my dining room table, the chip in the bathroom tile I'd been meaning to fix, the slightly crooked shelf in the bedroom closet. Every imperfection was a memory. Every corner held evidence of my life, my choices, my money, my work. If I lost this house, I lost more than a building. I lost proof that I could do something hard, that I could save and sacrifice and achieve something that was mine, that I could be a person who owned things, who built a life who mattered. My phone rang at 11 a.m. on April 15th. I was at work, sitting in a conference room, pretending to pay attention to a presentation about Q2 metrics. Rachel's name appeared on my screen. "Sarah, you need to sit down." My heart stopped. "We lost?" "No, we won. The judge dismissed Marcus's case. With prejudice. He can't refile. It's over." The relief was so overwhelming I started sobbing right there in the conference room. My colleagues stared. My boss half stood from his chair. I waved them off, walked out into the hallway, slid down against the wall. "But that's not why I'm calling," Rachel continued. "After the judge dismissed the case, he did something unusual. He asked to speak to Marcus directly. And Sarah, he was furious." "Furious?" "Your brother filed a completely baseless claim, wasted the court's time, and tried to use the legal system to bully you out of your own home. The judge told him that if he makes any further attempts to claim an interest in your property, any texts, any emails, any conversations with family members suggesting he has ownership, he could be held in contempt of court. He threatened sanctions. He threatened to report Marcus's attorney to the bar for filing a frivolous lawsuit. I couldn't speak, couldn't process. And then, Rachel said, her voice carrying a note of satisfaction I'd never heard before, the judge called you. What? He has your number from the court filings. He wants to speak with you directly. He said to call his chambers this afternoon. Sarah, judges don't do this. They don't reach out to litigants personally. But I think he was so appalled by what Marcus tried to do that he wants to make sure you understand your rights are protected. I called the judge's chambers at 2 p.m. His clerk answered, professional and brisk, and transferred me after confirming my identity. Miss Morrison, this is Judge Frederick Hartley. His voice was deep, authoritative, but not unkind. I wanted to speak with you personally after this morning's hearing. Thank you, Your Honor. I don't even know what to say. You don't need to say anything. I need to say something to you. In 30 years on the bench, I've seen many property disputes. Family disputes are often the ugliest. But what your brother attempted to do was not just ugly. It was legally baseless and morally reprehensible. I started crying again. Couldn't help it. You purchased that home with your own funds. You've maintained it with your own funds. You are the sole legal owner, and you have been from the moment you signed the deed. Your brother had no claim. None. Not legally, not morally, not in any way that matters. And I want you to understand something clearly. If he makes any further attempt to assert ownership, to convince family members he has rights to your property, to contact you about this matter, if he does anything to suggest he has any claim to your home, you are to contact the court immediately. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor. I've seen people lose their homes to family manipulation. I've seen people bullied into signing over property because they were told it was the loving thing to do, the family thing to do. And I want you to know that none of that is love. None of that is family. That's theft. That's exploitation. And the law protects you from it. We spoke for 15 minutes. He gave me his clerk's direct number. He told me to document everything, just in case. He told me that my mother's pressure was inappropriate, but not illegal. That I had no obligation to share my property with anyone, that boundaries were not selfishness. When I hung up, I sat in my car in the parking lot and cried for an hour. Marcus sent one text after the hearing. I hope you're happy. You've destroyed this family. I blocked his number. My mother sent a longer message. I cannot believe you took your own brother to court. The shame and embarrassment you've caused this family is unforgivable. Your father would be heartbroken. Don't bother coming to family events anymore. You're not welcome. I blocked her number too. Aunt Carol called a week later. Sarah, honey, I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. I should have said something at Thanksgiving. What Marcus did was wrong. What your mother is doing is wrong. And I'm sorry I didn't speak up. Thank you, I whispered. For what it's worth, half the family thinks your mother and Marcus have lost their minds. The other half doesn't want to get involved because they're scared of your mother's temper. But you did the right thing. That's your house. You earned it. Don't let anyone tell you different. Other calls trickled in over the following weeks. My cousin Jennifer, Uncle Dennis, my dad's brother who I hadn't spoken to in 5 years. All of them saying some version of the same thing. We know you're right. We're sorry we didn't say it sooner. Your mother is being unreasonable. Marcus was always entitled. It didn't erase the hurt. Didn't undo the months of stress and legal fees and sleepless nights. But it helped. I'm writing this in my house. It's October now. 18 months since that Thanksgiving when my brother announced he owned my home. The maple tree in the front yard is turning red again. The same brilliant scarlet that caught my eye the first time I saw this place 7 years ago. I refinanced last month. got a better rate. Payments are more manageable now. I'm rebuilding my savings, which I depleted paying legal fees, despite Rachel's generosity. I got a promotion at work. Turns out being able to focus again when you're not fighting for your home really improves your performance. I haven't spoken to my mother or Marcus since April. I won't say it doesn't hurt, because it does. Some nights I still lie awake thinking about that Thanksgiving, about how quickly everything changed, about how people I loved looked away when I needed them to see me. But here's what I learned. Defending yourself doesn't make you selfish. Setting boundaries doesn't make you cruel. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to let people who claim to love you take what's yours. My brother didn't own my house. He never owned my house, and he never will. Because this house, with its burn-marked table and chipped tile and crooked shelf, belongs to me. I have the deed to prove it. I have a judge's confirmation. I have the memory of 7 years of saving, 5 years of mortgage payments, countless hours of work and worry and hope. But more than that, I have something Marcus never understood. I have the knowledge that I can stand alone, that I can face down pressure from people who should protect me and still protect myself, that I can hear, "You're being selfish," and "You're destroying the family," and "This isn't what family does," and still say no. I'm not destroying the family. I'm defining it differently. Family doesn't mean surrendering everything you've worked for because someone else decided they deserve it more. Family doesn't mean accepting pressure and manipulation in the name of love. Family doesn't mean giving up your boundaries, your security, your home, because it's easier than fighting. Real family, the kind worth having, means seeing each other clearly, supporting each other genuinely, celebrating each other's achievements instead of trying to claim them as your own. Aunt Carol comes for dinner once a month now. Jennifer brings her kids to play in my tiny yard. Uncle Dennis helped me replace the porch railing last spring. We're building something new, these relatives and me. Something based on respect instead of obligation. And my house? It's still mine. Still imperfect. Still small. Still exactly what I need. I'm sitting at my burn-marked table right now, drinking coffee from my favorite chipped mug, looking at the October sun streaming through my windows. In a few hours, I'll cook dinner in my kitchen. Tonight, I'll sleep in my bedroom. Tomorrow, I'll wake up in my home. My home. And nobody can take that from me ever again.